Welcome back to Viewpoint. I'm Jim Zogby. My next guest is Hanan Ashrawi. She's founder and Secretary General of Miftah, the Palestinian Initiative for the Promotion of Global Dialogue. She served as Minister of Higher Education for the Palestinian Authority and as official spokesperson for the Palestinian Authority delegation to the U.S.-Israel-Palestinian peace talks. Thanks for joining us, Hanan.
Thank you. And I've been recently elected as the first woman to be a member of the PLO executive, so we're very pleased with that one.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I had a meeting with White House officials in the lead-up to this Obama-Netanyahu meeting, and I heard some things I wanted your take on. First is this line that was repeated a number of times over the last couple days, and that was progress being made in the proximity talks. It's become a subject of controversy. One of your colleagues, Saab Erekat, said if there's progress, he didn't know what it was and denies it. What is your take on it? If not, why are they saying it, and what does it mean?
I think in this whole issue of whether talks or no talks, proximity talks or direct talks, indirect or whatever, there's a sort of public presentation, a public discourse, and a reality, and sometimes they do not coincide, they do not mesh. And it seems to me this whole exercise has become partly in the service of domestic needs, whether Israeli or American or whatever, and the perceptions have become much more important than the substance. So I'll tell you very frankly.
But reality catches up.
Reality always does. When it comes to substance, I can tell you in all honesty, there is no progress. President Abbas gave, asked a few questions, gave a few positions on the issues of boundaries, on the issues of security, plus the whole permanent status subjects. And these are issues that really would shed light on whether Israel has seriousness of intent or is committed to genuine resolution or is just buying time to create more facts as usual. And also they can shed light on whether the U.S. has the willingness and the political will to get Israel to comply or at least to respond in ways that are positive.
I want to get to that, your take on the U.S. role in all of this, but I want to ask you about a report that there have been back-channel talks and that maybe that's what was being referred to as progress in back-channel talks. Do you have any...
No, there are no back-channel talks. I mean, this whole exercise of back-channel talks has stopped. It was part of the Oslo process. I personally am not involved. I don't know others who are, but I think there's a real determination to have one official, credible
Another thing that was said to us...
I mean, let me explain also that when there are people who are meeting on the ground to facilitate issues like crossing or issues like private sector movement or import-export or to get the arrears on the VAT and customs.
These aren't negotiations.
These are not negotiations. These are sort of technical issues that have gone on forever. I mean, since the beginning of not the occupation but the authority. And so these are not talks, regardless of whom.
There was U.S. praise for the Israeli moves on the Gaza blockade. We presented our position, which is that the Israeli response was inadequate and the U.S. response was unacceptable. They maintained that real progress was made and more will be made. How is it being perceived on the Palestinian side?
Actually, the Palestinians judge things by what happens on the ground, and they see no progress whatsoever. And when it comes to public statements, we understand there are needs. Netanyahu wants to present his public, his coalition, with the fact that he has mended fences, that he can speak to the Americans, that he's not a liability, because people saw him as a liability when it comes to American-Israeli relations. Obama needs to show that he has mended fences also because of the upcoming elections, the November midterm elections, and because he's under a lot of pressure to show that he's quite willing to restore Israel to its special status position with the U.S., and so on. So that, again, needs coincided, and the positive spin was there. I see these talks, the talks, as, again, another verbal exercise. And I see them as more statements of intent and pressure on the Palestinians to go to direct negotiations and to put a positive spin on this meeting and on the American-Israeli relations, and then tell the Palestinians that...
I want to get to the talks and your take on that. I have some specific questions about that, but I want to just get more of a readout on some of the things that were said to us before. And the final is about the aid, the U.S. aid to Gaza. The President made a point of $400 million that would be between the West Bank and Gaza, but reconstruction material for Gaza and other support. But they made the point that it would be administered by the Palestinian Authority. How does that happen?
I'll tell you frankly, that first of all, the 400 million were already part of the 900 million that were pledged last year by Secretary Hillary Clinton. She announced already those 900 million, and the 400 million are part of already pledged funds. So there's nothing additional or extra, please. This happens a lot because the Americans keep repeating the amounts that they're giving us, and people think, aha, incrementally they've added to them. No, they haven't. The question of Gaza is very important because they're dealing with the issue of easing the blockade, allowing certain things to come in, giving a list of things that are banned rather than things that are allowed, because once you give a list of things that are allowed, of course everything else is banned, which is universal. So now, our take on that is that the whole blockade should be lifted. The siege of Gaza should not exist anyway. In the first place, it's a cruel, illegal, immoral war crime. As far as I'm concerned, this is something that should not have taken place, should not have been condoned, should have stopped. Two, the question of the Palestinian Authority and Gaza. We believe that there is an official authority in Palestine, and that we are working to try to get a national unification. It's going to be very difficult, even though we believe that the stakes are much higher than the self-interest or the factional interests of the few. And therefore, we should put national interests above self-interest. So we are working on trying to get national reconciliation. Unity does not mean uniformity, does not mean, you know, a monolithic approach to reality, but accepting differences within a pluralistic democratic system. That's what we're working on. That's why I think if we honor agreements, it's important for the national system. If we have the AMA, the Agreement on Movement and Access, this is very important that we reactivate that. And that's why they're talking about the authority being part of this. Because the Presidential Guard, as per the agreement, is responsible for the crossing points. And therefore, it would be very important to show cooperation, to show a willingness to work together for the sake of the people. And we honor that agreement. It means the Europeans are willing to work with us again. They're willing to open all crossing points. And they're willing to cooperate if we honor this agreement. And I don't see why Hamas shouldn't. It's an agreement that works in the interests of everybody concerned. And we have to put the interests of the people of Gaza, who are really suffering, ahead of the interests of what is the name of the person who's in charge of the crossing points. This is extremely important. The question of the building material and so on, this is important because we do need to rebuild Gaza. People are still without their homes and so on. But as I said, we must get the blockade itself lifted, and we must be able to deal with Gaza as part of the whole national system and not outside it.
Now, to